What is up, Dodger fans? Hope everyone's doing well out there. Your Los Angeles Dodgers just tied up the World Series. It's now a 1-1 score as we take this series back to Los Angeles Monday evening. You are listening to the Klein Dodgers podcast presented by Tick Pick and Believe. If you are a fan of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, make sure to smash that like button because for the second start in a row, he absolutely delivered for your Los Angeles Dodgers through another complete game. There hasn't been a pitcher to throw back-to-back complete games in the postseason since 2001 when it was Curt Schilling of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I am joined by Frank Martinez, who's been on this show. It's been a few years, but Frank and I talk Dodgers baseball here and there, online, Twitter, X, you name it. Frank Martinez, how you doing? Thank you for joining me tonight.
No, pleasure. Pleasure to be here, and it's always great to talk right after a big win, that's for sure.
This was a big win. I said before the game that game 2 was essentially a must-win game for the Dodgers because finding yourself in an 0-2 hole as the road dog is a pretty difficult situation to overcome. Not impossible, but definitely difficult because if the Dodgers found themselves down 0-2, then they would have to go back to Toronto no matter what. But now this becomes a best-of-5 series. We're going back to Dodger Stadium for 3 games, and you never know what happens. Maybe they get it done in Los Angeles, but I'm not going to jump ahead too quickly. Tonight, we focus on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. No doubt about it, player of the game. Pitched another complete game. 4 hits allowed, just the 1 run, 8 strikeouts. He got it all done in 105 pitches, which to me was very impressive because if you go back to that first inning, he got into a little bit of a trouble. I think it was like first and third, nobody out. And then he got out of it. He ended up needing like 22, 23 pitches. And then he just settled in. But Frank, I'm going to throw this at you. Blake Snell was the hot topic for a split second. He kind of faltered in game 1. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, to me, I think he proved it after last season. He's the ace of this Los Angeles Dodgers staff now, or has been, I should say.
Yeah, I think that ace, they've been kind of juggling that back and forth a little bit. They each have a clunker of some sorts here in the postseason. I was at game 3 of the NLDS when Yamamoto and the Dodgers lost to the Phillies. But I would say that Yamamoto's probably outperformed Snell just enough in this postseason. And then when you pair that with what he did for us last postseason, then you really got to give that to Yamamoto at this point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I've been standing with Yamamoto pretty much since he signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I didn't even care if he hadn't thrown a major league pitch. When you give a guy $325 million, unlike Josh Reddick, who questioned the decision and is getting roasted tonight on numerous platforms, I bought into the hype. If the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies, and other teams were going to go into this bidding war for Yamamoto, and he had like 3 or 4 Japanese equivalents of the Cy Young, then he's the real deal. And like you were just saying, he already amounted to everything last season and helping the Dodgers win a World Series. Now he's doing it again this season, and he's even better than he was last season. I mean, I'm just blown away that Yoshinobu Yamamoto has now gone back-to-back complete games. He's carrying the Dodgers by keeping them in the game, and he kept the bullpen off the mound tonight, which I think is huge.
Massive, absolutely. And really, when you look at the kind of 4-headed monster of the rotation that we are fortunate enough to have with the starting pitchers, it's great that they're all getting right at the right moment, and whether that's by design or with luck of the draw. But between Ohtani, Glasnow, and Snell, they all had late starts to the season, or at least Snell, missed significant time as well. Yamamoto's been carrying this the entire season, and so for him to be performing like he's in midseason form right now, when really it is a true October for him, and again with what he did last year, he's touching legendary status already in Dodger blue.
I think I've seen enough at this point where if the Dodgers do go on to win this World Series, you can retire number 18. I would not question the decision.
Wow.
I think Yamamoto's done enough as a Dodger to warrant a jersey retirement. If you can win 2 World Series and you pitch at a high level in the postseason, and I feel like from a baseball standpoint, like you have to weigh in what he did in Japan as well, because so far Japan plus Major League, he's pitched like he's on track to be a Hall of Famer. But I know I'm jumping way ahead here.
Yeah, I mean, can you really do that before 55 though? That's tough.
I mean, it's not our decision at the end of the day. I mean, I see where you're coming from. The difference between Oral Hershiser and Yamamoto is that Oral has one legendary World Series run. Yamamoto is
Sure.
about to have two, hopefully two, I should say.
Hopefully, yeah.
But I mean, Fernando got his jersey retired. That was well overdue.
Right.
I'm very grateful the Dodgers did that one. We'll go back to Yamamoto. I think since MWG is a loyal listener, I want to give him a shout out. Kevin, what do you expect from the offense in Game 3? Was today the beginning of the awakening? So we'll hold off on Game 3 because we'll definitely talk about that later on. But the offense tonight, this is what I needed to see from the Dodgers. Kevin Gausman, he did look really good for the vast duration of this game. He had retired like 17 or 18, I can't remember the number, Dodgers in a row.
17, yeah.
17, and it was quite frustrating. But I will say the Dodgers were putting together good at bats against Gausman. They weren't necessarily working the count, but the pitches that they were swinging at didn't necessarily bother me because they were hunting the pitch that they wanted to get to. And the third time through the order, they finally got to him. Will Smith, you got to tip your hat to Will Smith. He was the offensive MVP tonight, no doubt about it. I mean, he went 2 for 4 with 3 runs driven in, including a massive home run out in the 7th inning when he and Muncy both homered in the 7th inning to eventually knock out Kevin Gausman, who threw a great game. But we needed the Dodgers offense to show some life. And when they pulled ahead 3-1, and the way Yamamoto was dealing, you felt pretty good. But of course, you can't be too confident with just a 2-run lead in Toronto, because we saw that last night. It came back to bite us. So when the Dodgers got 2 more runs in the 8th inning, I felt like that was kind of the nail in the coffin. I just threw a lot out there. I have more to say, but Frank, anything you want to talk about for the Dodgers offense first and foremost?
Look, I know I was tweeting back and forth with someone about the offense, and you know, it's understandable to see all the emotion from Dodger fans, to see, you know, the pessimism, and to see the the feeling that they're just not breaking through. We still haven't seen an offensive explosion, which we know they're fully capable of. But they've done enough. They've done enough to be 10-2 this postseason. That's significant.
Mm-hmm.
And so really you just have to, I think, look at it from that lens. Can they break through eventually with this, especially when you have an all-time A or an ace performing at an all-time level? Can you just do enough? And I think the answer to that is absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can they break through and have an explosion like we all would love? I think the answer is also yes. We just haven't seen it. And I think that's where maybe a lot of the frustration might come from. But coming home with, if you believe in game-to-game momentum, I don't necessarily believe in it, but coming home, there's a lot of guys that had some good swings, including Will Smith and Max Muncy. Pa has had finally a nice base hit.
Yeah.
And so maybe coming home is gonna be what gets enough guys right to have an explosion offensively.
Yep, that's exactly where I wanted to jump into. Andy Pages, I know probably the majority at this point for Dodger fans were ready to bench Andy Pages, and I did see a lot of anger online that he was in the lineup tonight. Me and Jake kind of went back and forth last night, and I know Jake was on the team of benching Pages for Alex Call. On the other hand, I wanted to give Pages just one more game just to see if he could get something going, and it took a while. But hopefully tonight is the start of something good for Andy Pages. That 1-out single that he got in the 8th inning off Louis Varland, I think was a turning point, because ultimately after Pages got on base, Ohtani singled. And then if you paid attention, and I know this got some heat in the NLDS when Matt Strahm was on the mound and he was pitching to God, who did he give up the home run to? I'm drawing a blank, but he gave up the home run, Matt Strahm, and then Ben Verlander called him out. I think it was to Teo. It was definitely to Teo.
Teo, yeah.
Yeah. So when Teo was batting, you could see Pages kind of gesturing when Strahm was on the mound.
Right.
Andy Pages was doing that again tonight when Mookie Betts was on the mound. And I don't know if that's because Varland was tipping his pitches, but definitely I saw Pages pointing in the direction, I think, to right. And then Varland's pitches were just all over the place. Mookie ultimately worked a walk. And that at that point, they had the bases loaded. Hoffman came in, threw a wild pitch. And then they walked Freeman.
Well,
He may have
wild
been,
pitch that hit Freddie Freeman.
yes. I'm okay with them not calling it a hit, because ultimately they just ended up walking Freeman, and then Will Smith drove in that 5th and final run for the Dodgers, and that was enough. But I think if you can score 5 runs against the Blue Jays on almost any given night, you're probably going to win the game.
Well, especially if you score 5 runs, and yeah, of course, if y'all, your guy's throwing a complete game, but even if your guy's not throwing a complete game, but you're keeping Guerrero and Springer at bay, yeah, I think you got a great shot to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job keeping Alejandro Kirk in check. He killed us last night.
Kirk.
Sorry, my bad. But yeah, Kirk. They kept Kirk in check. They even got him to strike out. I think that was huge. Varsho was a non-factor. Ernie Clement only had a single early on. He was a non-factor. George Springer got on base. I know he had a double. He got a hit by a pitch. But ultimately, they neutralized Guerrero and Springer enough. Like, Yamamoto was just absolutely locked in. He pitched a gem. So credit to Yamamoto. He absolutely carried us tonight.
Love to see it.
Dodger Dugan, X factor for the Dodgers for the next 3 games in Los Angeles. Do you have an X factor, Frank?
Oh, I mean, I'd like to split that up maybe into like offensively and on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say maybe X factor offensively is, I would say, either Kike or Pages. One of those 2 right-handed bats. If either of those 2 can come through big, I think that would be the key to unlock one of those big explosive performances from the offense.
Yeah, I like it. For me, this is tough. Well, Scherzer's going game 3, and then Bieber's going game 4. But I think I'll say Tommy Edman. I think if Tommy Edman can get going in the middle of the lineup, that's going to really extend this Dodgers lineup. So he was huge in the NLCS last season, won the MVP, obviously, had some big hits in the NLCS this season. But I got to go with Tommy Edman. He's my X factor. So I want to see him get going. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, I like that.
Appreciate everyone tuning in. Hit that like button. For those that are tuning in late, let's really get into this now with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So complete game, needed 105 pitches, just gave up the 1 run. He threw a mix of pitches tonight. They were all working. He had the splitter, the 4-seamer, curveball, cutter, slider, and sinker. Last night, the story was definitely Blake Snell was struggling to get swings and misses. That was not the case tonight with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mean, guys like Kirk, Guerrero, who were just not missing last night, they were definitely whiffing tonight. Ultimately, Yamamoto finished his night with 17 whiffs, which I think was huge. That was about 30% of his pitches. His called strikes plus whiff percentage rate was overall 32. I mean, when Yamamoto was able to locate his splitter, the Blue Jays couldn't touch him. And more credit to Yamamoto when he was locating that curveball and fastball. He was really keeping them off balance. I know we talked about it a few minutes ago, that first inning where it was looking a little dicey and maybe Yamamoto was going to get into trouble. I just love that he was able to adapt and ultimately get out of it with no damage done. Freddie Freeman had a nice play. Max Muncy, Mookie Betts, they were just diamonds all night defensively. Freeman did have that one error. Ultimately, didn't come back to bite the Dodgers. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers did their job.
Yeah, and you know what's great is the fact that those this is the second series consecutively now that you see something that in the past, especially those of us, Dodger fans with some seasoning to us, where some crazy play that is, never happens, or just really out of the ordinary play, a lot of times can be the downfall, the domino effect that just, you think of 2015 in not covering third base against the Mets in Game 5, something like that. And we saw the Brewers ground into double play, nearly grand slam, not, against the Brewers last series, and the Dodgers erased that, and they were able to win that game and sweep that series. And now, tonight, when you think of moments and you think that situation happens to lead off the inning, should be one pitch, one out for Yamamoto after the laborious first inning. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, this could be something that leads to a massive big inning that you look back on and think like, shouldn't have happened. But this team is built different, and this team can just, absorb something like that. Ultimately doesn't cost them anything. And they go on to pull out the win in that same game.
Yes. I mean, just more credit to Will Smith. He was just so good tonight. 2020, that NLCS home run off Will Smith is probably his biggest moment, but I think tonight was his second biggest moment in the playoffs. That home run was a turning point, but even before then, in the first inning with the Freddie Freeman 2-out double, it was just huge for Will Smith to get that RBI single. And I love that Will Smith was batting above Teoscar Hernandez, because the way Teoscar was putting together competitive at bats all night, he would have struck out, and then we would have left Freeman standing at second base. But instead, you had Will Smith ahead of Teo. Will Smith got the job done. Jumping ahead to that seventh inning, Will Smith was just battling Gausman, and Gausman wasn't fooling Will Smith at all. I think they worked maybe a full count. I don't remember. Maybe it was a 2-2 count, but nonetheless, Smith was fouling back a few pitches, and they just hammered a ball for a home run to give the Dodgers a 2-1 lead. And Will Smith was fired up. That was one of the most fired up Will Smith moments I can recall in my entire Dodgers fanhood. Huge moment right there. I mean, homering in the World Series is just absolutely massive. I think that was his first home run of the postseason as well, because was dealing with injuries to begin the playoffs to begin with. They had Ben Rortvedt in there because Smith was dealing with the fracture in his hand. And then after Teo struck out yet again, Max Muncy connected for an opposite field home run. And it was good to see Muncy get going as well, because he had only one RBI in the entire postseason up until that moment. So Smith, Muncy doing damage, knocked out Kevin Gausman. And then from there, the Dodgers were just rolling.
Yeah, right. I want to go back to you said you would rate this the second biggest home run for Will Smith, even though
in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that NLCS home run was massive, of course. I think that also broke the tie at the time, off Will Smith. But this is the next level, man. It's the World Series, potential to go down to 0-2.
Yeah.
And instead we pull the game out. I don't know. I love the Will Smith. I love Charlie Steiner's call of the Will Smith off Will Smith home run. And that led to a World Series ring. I guess you have to finish this off then in order for it to.
You had to finish it off, but also just the moment the Dodgers were trailing in that series 3-1, and it had looked like maybe our season was about to have the nail in the coffin, and then he just blasted that 3-run home run, and the Dodgers woke up. And from that moment on, it felt like they hardly had trailed the rest of the NLCS. But those are the 1-2 regardless. I don't think there's anything else that comes close right now.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
But I mean, this is where it gets tough. I mean, Yamamoto pitched a complete game. I don't know if he's going to get to pitch again in this playoffs, so that case remains to be seen. But right now, I feel like there's two candidates that are leading the way for the Dodgers as early frontrunners for World Series MVP, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto would make a lot of sense. But if Will Smith's playing every day and he continues to have big moments like this, he also would have a strong case. So those are the two that stick out to me right now. They only have one win, but taking one game at a time, appreciating the moments as they come along.
Yeah, but Otani's always a wild card. He just has to have one big game, two big games maybe, and if he does anything on the mound to pair it up with what he does at the plate, he can steal it away just like he did last series.
Yep. Make sure to hit that like button for those tuning in. If you have questions for the show, you can drop questions for us. Frank, throwing a question to you though, from me. So last night it just felt like the Blue Jays, you couldn't strike them out. They hardly whiffed at all. They were pretty much making contact or fouling pitches off. They were difficult to put away. Like, what from tonight versus last night? Why was Yoshinobu Yamamoto able to be so successful when you had high profile and top tier talent like Blake Snell? You can throw an Emmett Sheehan. You can make a case for Bonda. Why couldn't they look this effective? But meanwhile, Yamamoto, he was just able to keep this Blue Jays offense in check all night.
Execution, really. I mean, if you listen to Blake Snell after the game last night, he talked a lot about execution, and the media was kind of trying to give him softball or layup questions to allow him to use the excuse of rust or the layoff or this or that. And he just kept saying, I just didn't execute. I didn't have the pitches that I wanted to have. I didn't put them where I wanted to put them. And Yamamoto absolutely did. He had multiple pitches working for him. And I mean, he can get by with just, two pitches working, if he's got his fastball command and maybe a splitter or maybe his curve. But tonight he had everything working. And so it's even the old adage is good pitching beats good hitting. Or good pitching beats good offense. And yes, the Blue Jays have a good offense, but when you got a guy who has all of his repertoire at his disposal, then you get a performance like tonight.
I definitely agree with you. That's just what makes Yamamoto so effective, is his ability to locate his pitches, and Snell just didn't have it. We saw that with the fastball and the changeup. He just wasn't able to locate them where he wanted. Meanwhile, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he was throwing some splitters. He was throwing some fastballs, perfectly accurate location. And I was like, holy crap, these Blue Jays hitters, they are vulnerable. Like when Vladimir Guerrero was striking out, I was like, holy shit, we can stop these guys. And I think that this is going to make for a happy flight now, because now the Dodgers go to Los Angeles in a 1-1 series, and you've got Tyler Glasnow on the mound. I like that Glasnow gets to make his start at Dodger Stadium. I think that's a much more cooler, calmer environment for him as opposed to having to pitch in Toronto. So the Glasnow Scherzer matchup is certainly going to be interesting. I'm not a Scherzer fan. I will be honest. I want to destroy Max Scherzer. He's like 41 years old. He was awful during the regular season, had a 5.19 ERA. Like, I cannot, we cannot allow this guy to beat us.
No, absolutely not. On multiple fronts, there's so many reasons why any Dodger fan should root mightily against Matt Scherzer. First and foremost, because he stands in the way of in a swing game, and we want to go up 2-1. But secondly, the history, not going in that game 6 against the Braves, and ultimately leading to Walker Buehler throwing his arm out and everything that happened there, and then all the comments afterward, and also he's part of that three-headed conversation that people like to force feed with the best pitcher of the generation, which I think any truly objective viewer will say Clayton Kershaw. But, they try to throw in Verlander and Scherzer into that conversation. And, I'm just salty, in all honesty, Kevin, because Max Scherzer still has 94, 95 on his fastball velo. Verlander also does. And Kershaw, man, if he had that velo at this stage of his career or the last few seasons, I mean, think about what he could do. Think about what he does without that, and what he could do if he had that. But that's a whole nother topic, But just that surrounds Max Scherzer. So yes, it was great that Kershaw actually outdueled him in August when we faced Toronto, and
Right.
I really, really hope that in Game 3 we get to that guy as early as possible, knock him out the game, get to the bullpen, and set us up really well for the rest of those games at home.
I feel pretty good with Glass now going for the Dodgers. I'm looking at some lifetime stats of the Blue Jays against our guy Tyler Glass now. I don't know if Bo Bichette will be in the lineup. He wasn't in the lineup tonight. He just has not looked right with that knee injury, which I think is obviously an advantage for the Dodgers. But Bargers, he's 0 for 5. Bichette 2 for 16. Ernie Clement 0 for 4. Andres Jimenez 2 for 8. Vladdy Jr. he's doing well, 6 for 17 with a 1100 OPS. He has a home run. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa 1 for 10. Alejandro Kirk 0 for 2. Who else? George Springer 6 for 13 with a home run, but Varsho 0 for 5. And Glasnow has a 33% K rate against every Blue Jays hitter that he's faced currently on their roster. I think the strategy for Glasnow is it's got to be locate your pitches in the zone. Like the thing that kind of always gets to Tyler Glasnow is he may give up an extra walk or two that was just unnecessary. And when you're
Right.
facing the Blue Jays, you don't want to issue free passes to the bottom of the order because that's really where someone like a George Springer or Vladdy Jr. could do some heavy damage against you. I think that's why Yamamoto is so great tonight because he kept those guys off the base. So whenever Springer was up, there really wasn't anyone ever on for him. Same could be said for Vladdy Jr. If there was anyone on, it was just a couple times with Springer. But nonetheless, for Tyler Glasnow, it's definitely locating your pitches, being deceptive with that curveball. This Blue Jays team, they're known for being pretty disciplined and not chasing. But for Glasnow, I want to see him avoid those walks. I think that's going to be the difference for him.
Yeah, I think another thing working in his favor is, although we did sweep in the NLCS, he had the lesser of the 4 games, the fourth ranked performance of our 4 starters, if you will.
Uh-huh.
But remember, he had that 3:00 game.
Yeah.
That's not going to be an issue this time around.
Right.
Where he gets a closer to normal 5:00 start time, and I don't know. I'm a believer in that kind of stuff, and so I think that's going to be a good thing. And like you mentioned, the home crowd. I think Glasnow among the pitchers we have, the starters, I think he benefits a lot from pitching at home as opposed to in the hostile environment on the road.
Yeah, and I mean Glasnow is so far up to this point completely erased the narrative that he can't pitch in the postseason. I mean, he has an 0.68 ERA across 3 games because he pitched in relief once. And he's lowered his career postseason ERA now down to 4.58. I think it was in the low 5s coming in, but now he has an 0.68 ERA in the 2025 postseason. He's about to make his first World Series start since he last pitched in 2020 when he was on the Tampa Bay Rays, and he won't be facing a Dodgers lineup this go around. So he's got the Dodgers behind him now. I'm a Glasnow believer, and I'm confident with him going against Max Scherzer. This one may be a little bit higher scoring than this most recent game, but I don't think the Blue Jays will post 11 runs again.
No, agreed. I think they'll probably score, but I think that the Dodgers offense. Look here, if the Blue Jays offense scores against Glasnow, a prime Glasnow pitching at, this is really the prime of his career, and he's in midseason form, and I think they can put up a couple runs against them. Then I think that this Dodger offense can absolutely outdo that against this version of Max Scherzer.
Definitely. Standouts against Scherzer. Betts is 3 for 10 with a home run. Tommy Edmonds 6 for 16 with a home run. Freddie Freeman is batting 200 with 3 home runs. Kike's 0 for 6. Teo's 1 for 7 with 5 strikeouts. Muncie's hitting 200 with a home run. Ohtani is 2 for 6 with a home run. Or sorry, he's just 2 for 6, no home runs. Scratch that. Calling my shot now, though. Ohtani gets an extra base hit against Max Scherzer in this next game.
I like that. I think I could definitely see that. I just can see Max Scherzer coming out with a bunch of adrenaline and ultimately having an adrenaline dump, especially at his age, running out of gas, and this offense really getting to him. I don't think he has the stuff that Gausman displayed tonight, and nor Savage yesterday. So at this point of his career, at least, so I do believe that this offense will get to him, and I really hope it happens early, because that would be the ideal case, the ideal scenario. It gets him early and bring in that bullpen, which we've already seen a little bit, and then now you're set up really well for the ensuing games.
Yeah, that actually brings me to the next point I wanted to bring up. The Dodgers got past the hardest part of the Blue Jays pitching staff. Savage and Gausman, those are the two hardest pitchers they were going to have to run into. Max Scherzer is definitely beatable, and Shane Bieber has an impressive resume. I don't want to diminish him by any means, but he was not that elite this season because he was coming back from the Tommy John surgery. And in the playoffs, he has a 4.38 ERA, a whip of about 1.5. And I think a team like the Dodgers match up very well against a guy like Shane Bieber because he's not a big K guy anymore. He's going to rely on generating some soft contact. And I just feel pretty confident that one or two of our guys are going to be able to take something over the wall and hit a home run off Shane Bieber. And the Blue Jays bullpen, which I think is a big hitting point, they don't have a great bullpen. And I think so far in this World Series, we haven't seen the Jays pen look that great. I mean, Jeff Hoffman is their biggest reliever, and he fumbled tonight. And I think that's huge for the Dodgers moving forward.
Yeah, agreed. For all the talk of the Dodgers bullpen and all the question marks there, the Blue Jays bullpen was equally, the numbers were pretty similar as far as this postseason goes, and now they've seen them a couple times, and like you said, Hoffman faltered. You just gotta like it, and if they can get to that pen early, that's gonna really be a huge key for. Ultimately, I think this World Series.
Frank, is there anything else with tonight's game or the World Series in general, or maybe just the Dodgers postseason play, or narratives or things going on that you're seeing that you wanted to cover?
Well, yeah. Ultimately, just the fact that I'm really, really big on kind of us watching the game. Emotions are great, but emotions can kind of cloud your judgment sometimes. And I think that when we're watching the game and we're watching these games and this run specifically, they are proven. They've proven last year and now all the way up until this point this year that this team has the heart of a champion. They know how to pull through. They have the horses, and ultimately they have enough guys performing at the right time to really have the record they have so far in this postseason. And so I think that in some ways it might have been a blessing in disguise to be able to face a team where we didn't have home field advantage versus had we faced Seattle, because then these 3 games would be in Seattle instead of at home. So, I just want to. I'm looking forward to game 3, 4, and 5, and and seeing what happens with where we are right now.
Definitely. This will be the last call for questions. So if you want to get Dodgers questions in, or World Series questions in for myself and or Frank, throw anything at us. Even if you want to just ask me something random, I'm here for it. We're just here to entertain you guys. But we're going to get down to the final stretch here and just kind of dive in and quickly recap. So tonight, this one was just all Dodgers. I mean, they needed to go out there and make a statement win. I think Blue Jays fans were starting to get a little bit too full of themselves after one game, acting like they just won the World Series. But it's a best of 7 for a reason, and now we find ourselves, thankfully, in a 1-1 tie. The Dodgers offense, they did enough. Last night was certainly frustrating, and I could understand some early frustrations, but 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position. We'll take it. At the end of the day, it's better to not strand runners and go for a 1 for 3 rather than a 1 for 10. So I'm happy. Yamamoto, Dodger legend forever at this point. The $325 million will always be worth it, regardless of what happens after tonight. But this is what an ace does. This is something you have not seen from a starting pitcher in over a decade. I think the last guy to do this was Johnny Cueto, if I was reading that correctly, when the Kansas City Royals won their World Series. A guy that will go out there, go the complete 9. I mean, it's one thing to live in an era with Shohei Ohtani. I think I'm even more surprised we're living in an era right now where we have Dodgers starters going 9 innings and throwing complete games in the playoffs. I never thought I would see that again in my lifetime. It's crazy.
Yeah, right. From the standpoint of modern day baseball, where the dreaded 100 pitch mark is we stay away from that at all costs, for the most part, and 7 innings is like the new 9 innings. You know what I mean? In today's baseball, my podcast partner at the Let's Be Frank podcast, Frank Lopez, he mentioned today how you got to give Dave Roberts his kudos because for Gosman in that 7th inning, it was uncharted territory, and look, ultimately the Dodgers got to him. Yeah. Whereas for Yamamoto, it was familiar territory. He had already done that just the previous game, and so the fact that we're witnessing, to your point, Dodger starters being able to complete. I mean, Lima time was how long ago now?
04.
And now, yeah, and so we're able to see this happen. Now, we had to. Blake Snell had to crawl for Yamamoto to walk in some regards. When Snell was removed from the game after 8 innings last series. But I think that if we got a guy cruising, then kudos to Dave Roberts for just staying out of the way and letting the guy do what he's doing.
No doubt about it. Let's see. Dave Roberts said after Yoshinobu Yamamoto's long first inning, he was thinking getting through six was going to be the likely outcome. So then there you go. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too initially. I was like, crap, I hope Yamamoto can only go. I hope Yamamoto goes at least 6 tonight. But my God, brilliant performance. I just love the efficiency. I mean, this is a start to remember. Like, maybe I don't want to say anyone's taking it for granted, but seeing someone just go out there trailing a series, throwing a complete game in the World Series, like these are moments you're not going to see often in your lifetime. So I just want Dodger fans to remember that.
Right. I think a huge moment was that Vlad AB in the first inning.
Yeah.
He had threw him everything except the curveball up into that at bat, and he was battling like 2-2. He's battling, and he finally dropped in the curveball and got him to whiff. And from there, I mean, what did he end the game with? 20 consecutive, the last 20 batters, I think he got out. And so, yeah, you're right. It's not something that you see often. And so to witness that, it is one of those things that we'll be able to look back on. It's like, yeah, that Yamamoto game. Because, last year we can think, we know Yamamoto was the ace of the postseason run for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he went 5, then he went, I think, 6 innings a couple of times. I know Flaherty had the 7 shutout innings in the NLCS. So there's nothing that stands out as far as that you can remember off the top of your head. And now in this postseason run, you can look and say both in the NLCS and so far once already in the World Series, you got complete games from him. Domination.
Totally. All right. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to get out there before we get on out of here?
I am fortunate enough to have tickets for Game 3,
Nice.
so it'll be my first opportunity, my son and I, to attend a World Series game. We are very excited about that. I really hope the Dodgers can win that game.
Me too.
Yeah.
My the final thing I want to talk about real quick. I'm thinking back and forth. I'm gonna jump ahead to Game 4. With Shohei Ohtani going on the mound for the Dodgers and an opportunity to either at that point it'll either be to even the series or to put the Dodgers ahead 3-1. One of those outcomes is going to happen regardless.
Right.
I think the restrictions, the training wheels, whatever you want to call it, the things that they've been holding Ohtani back, I think they completely unlock all of that. And if Ohtani is dealing, they're not going to be afraid to let him go 8 innings or even 9 innings if the pitch count calls for it. So I think now that we're here in the World Series territory, all bets are off. If Ohtani is dealing and he is pitching efficiently and the call and the situations make sense, you might be able to witness an all-time great performance.
Yeah. Before today's game, I think it was, or maybe after last night, he said that the only thing he was disappointed in the Game 4 performance against Milwaukee was the fact that he couldn't get through that seventh inning. And so that just kind of shows you where his mindset is. And yes, I agree with you. If that's that, yeah. Think about what we saw in Game 4. I don't know if he'll hit 3 bombs, but if he does anything offensively, along with going deep into a potential a series tying game or pushing your team one win away from the World Series, goodness gracious, man, you will be able to see something historic again.
Do you pay attention or dial in on the broadcasters? Do you have opinions on guys like John Smoltz, or you're kind of like whatever on that?
No, I'm not whatever at all. I actually have the radio broadcast synced with the TV, so I don't listen to Joe Davis and John Small. I'm not big. I was once a big fan of Joe Davis. I think that 2017 run, the some of the calls he had were super. Um, I think all Dodger fans just he kind of won us over, and his humility and all of that. But once he started to get kind of um, big shot on us and doing all the other stuff, I just felt like the Dodgers are a historic enough franchise where you know we shouldn't know if you're gonna be calling the game or not. And the way it is now with him, it's in the summertime he's calling college football, so if there's something on a Saturday, he's going to be busy. I think he does March Madness. I think he does like a NFL, and so he's still a good broadcaster, but it's hard to call him like an exclusive Dodger broadcaster. And so now John Smoltz, I don't think he's a good broadcaster personally. I don't. I think he tries too hard. He kind of throws his he wants to let um, too much and too often
Yeah.
who he was and what he's done and that kind of stuff. Um, but and also I'm just a fan. I like Steven Nelson. I think he's quality, and I like his calls. I like Rick Monday. Call me a homer.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I like them. I like Joe Davis, but yeah, John Smoltz, I think he's kind of awful as a national broadcaster. I'm not even sure why he's the lead guy at this point. I don't think he adds at any value whatsoever, and his insight is really boring and kind of useless at times. Like, I think they're on the same channel. Adam Wainwright, I think he's better than John Smoltz,
Yeah, I
not by a
agree.
whole lot, but definitely better. And I think Wainwright is also more relevant these days because he just retired a couple of years ago. So I'd like to see them maybe make that switch one of these days. But why I brought up John Smoltz is when Freddie Freeman overran that pop up and it resulted in, I believe, Ernie Clement to get on base. Yamamoto or Smoltz was blaming Yamamoto on that error or that blunder, which I thought was just
Oh, no
out of
way.
line there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a coach. I coach baseball year round, and we always tell our pitchers, like tell our infielders rather, help your pitcher out. If an infielder can get it, let the infielder get it, and don't the pitcher shouldn't have to. Of course, that doesn't mean that the pitcher is not an athlete and not a defensive position either. But if you can get to it as an infielder, you go get it.
Yeah.
And absolutely, that's on the first base side. So, and then the other rule that comes into play is if you're coming in as a fielder versus going out, then it's your ball. So, in the case of that ball, it's either Will Smith or Freddie Freeman, and in that case, Freddie Freeman's coming in. So, yeah, it's definitely Freeman's ball. That's I didn't realize that about Smoltz blaming Yamamoto. I mean, what? Okay, whatever.
I'm going to give Dennis Gonzalez a shout out because he's a loyal listener and big fan of him. Will Roberts keep Pages in the lineup or give Kim or Call a chance to play? Been saying every day in the playoffs, they're going to keep Andy Pages in the lineup as long as they keep winning. He's a good defensive center fielder, and you don't need to shake things up at this moment in time. If they had lost tonight and Pages had another struggle bus, then I think you make the switch over to Alex Call. But they won tonight. Pages did good. He'll be in the lineup for Game 3. There's no doubt in my mind. Of those two, Alex Call would probably be the next man up. I don't think Ha-Seong Kim is ready at this moment. He really fell off in the second half, and he's more on the team right now for pinch running purposes. That's his role.
Right, because even defensively, there's plenty of second baseman options in front of him as well. And I know he played a little outfield, but I don't think anyone wants to see that right now. So yeah, I don't think it would be Call if you were gonna do it, and then you move things around from there. But for everyone saying that, it's funny because I see a lot of that. At least Call will give you a good at bat. He'll probably take a walk. Maybe get a base hit, this or that. Yeah, on the walk standpoint, we would have loved Eddie Pages to not swing out of his shoes at a pitch in the dirt last game, with the bases loaded and Ohtani coming up. But he did enough today to certainly keep himself in the lineup. I'm with you. I have no doubts that he will be in the Game 3 lineup.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone tuning in to our Game 2 post-game edition of the Incline Dodgers podcast. World Series 1-1 split. We're going back to Dodger Stadium on Monday. We're Tyler Glasnow. We got a super chat, so I got to get to that. Moose 1032, is Glasnow going to limit the walks and be sharp in Game 3? So thank you so much, Moose, for the super chat. We talked about Tyler Glasnow a little bit earlier, so to kind of recap real quick and just final thoughts on Glasnow since he is the next starter. Absolutely, that's going to be the key for Glasnow's game. He has to limit the walks. Free passes is what will do damage to Glasnow, and he's also historically been a little bit susceptible to giving up a home run here and there. So if he does give up a home run, I hope it's because nobody was on base earlier with walks. If he gives up a solo shot, I can live with that. But yeah, for Glasnow, it's going to be that fastball. He's been dialed in all playoffs. He's been able to pinpoint and locate it where he wants. It can get up to 98, 99 miles per hour at times. He doesn't need to throw it with full force. He just needs to be accurate with his fastball. The curveball is one of the best in the entire sport of Major League Baseball. I have a feeling he's going to really be effective with that curveball. I'm super optimistic with Tyler Glasnow. I do think he is going to be sharp in Game 3.
I like your confidence. I'm a little uneasy. I think it's just more of a superstition because I'm going to that game.
Yeah.
You know how we can be as fans. But it'd be nice to give him a lead early. I'll say that. I think that would be huge for him to pitch in front. But either way, you pointed out his stats earlier and how well he's been pitching this postseason. So I don't see why he won't be the next guy up to give us a really good start.
Yeah.
And go from there.
He's yet to give up a home run on his curveball this season. He also has a 44.5% whiff rate. Last season, he gave up just one home run with his curveball and a 47.5% whiff rate. So pay attention to that curveball. If Glasnow has command of it, that's going to be the difference in this game. It is his best pitch by far. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Incline Dodgers podcast. If you're listening on the audio feed, make sure you're a subscriber and whether it's Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below. Let us know your predictions in Game 3 and call your shot. Who's going to hit a home run for the Dodgers? Thank you, Frank Martinez,